Russia is undergoing a series of high-profile arrests, convictions and mysterious deaths that are paralyzing even the highest echelons of government. The latest case, the suicide of former Transport Minister Roman Starovoit, has shocked the country's political elite, writes the Telegraph. "It looks terrible," said a former official in the Russian presidential administration who asked to remain anonymous. Arrests, deaths, scandals. People have screwed themselves up. On July the 7th, Starovoit, the 53-year-old former governor of Kursk Oblast, died by suicide while under investigation for large-scale embezzlement. His former deputy, Alexei Smirnov, had allegedly already testified against him. A vacuum of fear has formed at the highest level. What is really strange is that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has not expressed any sympathy, the same official noted. Even the Prime Minister is silent. This is a sign. So far, courts have handed down decades of prison sentences even to former deputy defense ministers, and falling out of windows has become a new political metaphor. Transneft Vice President Andrei Badalov did not survive a fall from a balcony, and billionaire Konstantin Strukov's private jet was forcibly returned when he tried to leave the country. The rules have changed, says Alexandra Prokopenko, a Carnegie Center expert and former advisor to the Central Bank of the Russian Federation. Now it doesn't matter who supports you. It's not the strongest who survives, but the most cautious. There is currently a growing paranoid mood in the Kremlin. One current government official admits, "I try to stay away from dangerous topics. We're all locked in our own little worlds." The war in Ukraine has upended the status quo, with the Kremlin nationalizing businesses to plug its coffers while corporate raiders compete ever more violently for a shrinking piece of the pie. "It all looks horrifying," said a former official from the Russian presidential administration. "If you look at the recent arrest of top state company executives, the mysterious deaths, people in government and politics are, pardon my French, sucking themselves." Andrei Soldatov, an expert on the Russian security services, agreed that the Kremlin is working together with the FSB to control the Russian elite through repression. The FSB collects compromising material on officials, top managers of state-owned companies, and politicians, he said. If a particular institution needs to be purged, say a ministry or a regional leadership, they start by arresting the number 2 and extract testimony implicating the top figure and other key players. Everyone understands how it works, and everyone is terrified, he said. In Russia, increasingly alarming signals are being heard about the state of the economy, and not from the opposition, but from figures loyal to the Kremlin. State Duma Deputy Mikhail Delyagin, speaking on the propaganda TV channel Tsargrad, unexpectedly frankly described the situation the country has found itself in under the current regime. Churchill once said, "I thought I would die of old age, but I will die of laughter." When the Soviet Union became an importer of grain. "Last year we became an importer of potatoes. I don't think this has ever happened," said Delyagin. According to him, for the first time in many years, Russia has switched to importing what it once produced in excess, and this is a consequence of the destroyed economy. The destruction of the economy is to blame for this, including because of the unavailability of loans, the literal implementation of rules that are written in an absurdly cruel manner, without taking reality into account. We now need emergency measures in order to simply maintain minimal economic development, so that we do not import grain next year, the Russian deputy noted. This admission sounds especially telling given that Delyagin is not an oppositionist, but a long-standing supporter of Putin's course. His words are a signal that the system itself is beginning to recognize the depth of the failure. However, he avoids naming the main thing: the aggressive war unleashed by Russia against Ukraine and international isolation are the key causes of the catastrophe. It was the full-scale invasion, sanctions and military spending that undermined the country's financial and productive resilience. But the Kremlin and its mouthpieces continue to pretend that the economy is only hampered by internal formalities and bureaucracy. The fact that even figures like Delyagin have started talking about the need for emergency measures shows that the situation is critical, and the attempt to address Putin from the airwaves is a signal of despair. The system is at a loss, and even loyal people are starting to say out loud what they have long kept silent about.
Russian troops have entered Pokrovsk city in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, Ukrainian media reported on Tuesday, citing military sources. According to Ukrainian servicemen, the initial Russian infantry incursions into Pokrovsk were detected on July 17. Deep State reported that operation was underway to repel Russian advances in Pokrovsk city. A couple of days ago, the enemy seized an opportunity, exploiting a brigade's depleted infantry and a muddled battlefield assessment, to infiltrate the city via Zverov. The crisis had to be swiftly dealt with by the brave lads of the 155th Separate Mechanized Brigade and the 68th Jaeger Brigade in order to avert a potential catastrophe, Deep State reported. The source reported that Ukrainian troops have suffered losses in the operation to fight reconnaissance and sabotage groups of Russians. In Pokrovsk direction, Russians have gathered more than 100,000 troops, which allows them to actively put pressure on Ukrainian positions there, according to military analyst, veteran of the Russian-Ukrainian War, Reserve Major of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Alexei Getman on air on Radio NV. Russian forces have also captured the settlement of Grushevsko in Donetsk region, according to Deep State analysts. Grushevsko is located near the administrative border of Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions. In addition, Russians advanced near 4 more settlements. In particular, Russian troops advanced near Voskresenka and Orkhovoy, in the Novopavlovsk direction, also near Mayak and Yut, which are located north of the city of Pokrovsk. Earlier, Deep State analysts reported on the advancement of the Russian troops in several directions of the front. In particular, Russians achieved successes near Novodoretskoy, Shevchenko, Poltavka, as well as in Volnoy Pol, Andrievka and Popovyar in Donetsk region. The Russian Defense Ministry has declared the capture of Kamensky in Zaporozhye region. Ukraine has not confirmed its losses, although on the Deep State map, the village is almost completely indicated in the gray zone or under the control of the Russian Federation. Moreover, Moscow claims to seize Dnyipronogo in Kharkiv region, which is right on the border with the Russian Federation. However, Ukraine did not confirm this report. From a third to a half of all combat clashes occur precisely in the Pokrovsk direction. The situation is difficult, Russians are putting pressure. The large number of troops there make it possible to conduct tactical rotations there more often, when units are withdrawn not to their permanent deployment site, but several kilometers from the front line. There they can rest, get themselves in order and go into combat again. This happens once every 7 to 10 days. This allows the Russians to use fresh forces almost constantly, Getman said. He added that Ukraine also conducts such rotations, but the interval between them is longer, which gives the Russians a certain advantage. At the same time, assessing Russia's successes, the expert noted that the enemy has been trying to take Pokrovsk at least into a tactical encirclement for a year and a half.